Hey, what's up, y'all? I am Sandi BestLife Jones, and this is Girl Talk After Dark, where life, love, and the pursuit of happiness are always the topic of discussion. Yes, we are a faith based platform, but all who come in peace are welcome. My guest tonight is someone that I have admired for a really long time. And before we started preparing for tonight's show, I felt like she was someone that I knew of, even though I've met her in person a few times. But now I feel like I know her. I do. We had a really great pre-interview, and I must say that I really got a chance to get to know her as Michelle, the businesswoman, Michelle, the wife, Michelle, the bonus mom, Michelle, the little sister, the Michelle, the friend. You name it. I got to know every layer, and it just made me more excited about doing this interview tonight with her. And so, before I bring her out, because she is in the green room and she is waiting patiently, I'm going to bring her out in just a second. But before that, I do that, I want to ask those of you that are watching to please like and share this video and subscribe to my channel. It's a free way to support Best Life TV. Make sure you hit the notification bell so you don't miss out when I go live or when I upload. So if you would do that for me, I would appreciate it. I'm going to come over here in the chat. As you enter the room, I want you to do two things for me. Tell me the city and state that you are watching from, and tell me how you know Michelle. I'd be curious to know. So do that for me. We're going to bring Michelle out in just a minute. I want to see just a few more people in the chat, and then we'll go ahead and bring her out. I hope everyone had a splendid Thursday. I know I did. I had a great day today. Why, you say? Because I got off work early. I'm not even going to lie. I had a great day because I got off work early. Praise God. I only worked half a day today. I just said, you know what, y'all? I'm out of here. I got to go. So yeah, my day was great. And even my day while I was working and serving customers and problem solving and all of the things that go along with being a case manager, you know, I still had a great day. So I love the work that I do. It's the work that I was born to do, created to do, destined to do, purposed to do. And I'm finding out as I get a little bit older, God is adding more to my purpose. So I know that I am more than a case manager. I know that I am more than a state employee. And God is unfolding all of those parts of my life in front of me. And it's really, it's an exciting time to be Sandi BestLife Jones, I must say. And I give all praise and honor to God. He's been good to me. All right, we're going to get started with tonight's interview. Without further ado, I'm going to bring out my very special guest. Michelle Lang Raymond is here.
Hello.
Yes. Hello.
Hello. Good to be here.
Yes, I am so happy to see you. So happy to have you. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you. And thank you for the invitation. You're so good at this already.
I've been doing this for going on 4 years now, and
Wow.
I rewatch every show because I critique myself. So after every show, I immediately go and watch the replay
Good for
and take
you.
notes. Yeah, because I want to make sure that
You have
I
to
do
study.
my
You got to study. You got to
yes,
study. Yeah.
yes. And you want to put your best foot forward. And so you got to be able to take constructive criticism. And I
Yeah.
have my kids, we rewatch it, my grandkids watch it for me and they give me critiques and I appreciate all of it.
Well, you're doing great.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I as I was saying in the intro, before we did our pre-interview,
Hmm.
I felt like I knew of you. You're like this enigma. I would see you here, there, and everywhere. We've been Facebook friends for a long
A
time.
long time.
And now I follow the scene in South Park on Instagram. I follow Acts on Stage on Instagram, and I'm following the work that you do. But ever since we did our pre-interview, I feel like I know you so much better now. We had such a great conversation at what 8:30 at night.
We did. And after I got off, I was like, why was I so emotional? And I was like, you know what? I don't get to just chat with people that
Yeah,
often like that.
yeah,
And I think I was just thankful for a chance to just talk to a sister and like and get like real questions about me,
yeah.
like me, my personage, not just the stuff I do, but like
Hmm.
who I am. So
Hmm.
I'm excited I'm nervous about this conversation because I was so vulnerable in that conversation,
Yeah.
but it's okay. I trust you.
I think that you have such a compelling story, your life story and your story as Michelle, the business owner, and Michelle, the executive director of a theater company.
Yeah.
There's so
Great.
many layers to you, and each one is interesting, each one is compelling, each one is inspirational. You, in the pre interview, we talked a lot about your childhood and your life growing up as a young woman, and then as you matured and you found your rhythm and your purpose revealed itself to you, then you went through some changes and some awakenings with that too.
Yeah.
And all of that combined makes up who you are as a woman today.
It
And I
does.
think all of that story in little snapshots needs to be shared. I really do.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
But
I
before we
don't,
get
I
into
don't, I don't find myself interesting.
okay,
So,
well,
so, so I
I don't
think
know what to tell you.
I don't, but well, I'll say this: I don't find myself interesting until I'm
Mhm.
like speaking some things out loud, and I was like, "Oh, okay,"
Yeah,
that has some layer to it.
yeah.
So I'm just happy to be here with you, though.
All right. Amen. But before we get into all of that, the
Yeah.
Michelle who is the modern day Renaissance woman, the Michelle who is every woman, I want to talk about your love story. You got married
I did.
4 years ago, almost five.
Hmm.
It'll be
Yeah.
5 years in February.
Hmm.
And you married Mr. J. Raymond,
Mr.
honey.
J. Raymond, Mr.
Yes.
J. Jerome Raymond. I did.
I want to hear about the love story because it's not the conventional love story, but it's
Yeah.
so much deeper and it's so much sweeter. And I
Yeah.
want to hear about it because you curated that love story, honey, so we could all see what happens
Because
when
I
you
knew
just
people
wait
were
a
gonna
little
have
bit longer.
questions. I knew people were gonna have questions, so I wanted to,
Yes,
frame it for y'all.
yes. So tell us the love story.
Yeah, so we did meet later, I should say, in life. We have a
Mhm,
little Instagram called Love a Little Later because that's where we started telling the story. And honestly, so at the time I was living in Portland, Oregon,
mhm,
but I would come back to Seattle, Washington every summer to do a theater job. And
mhm,
so the thing about that space, that 2.5 months, is I get to come to Seattle kind of undercover where like nobody really knows I'm here unless they know I'm here doing whatever. But I'm not obligated to anybody. I'm not required to be anywhere by anybody other than the theater project that I'm working on. And so I had decided that summer that I was just going to chill, but I was going to go on a lot of dates, to be quite honest.
Okay.
I was like, you know what? I'm single. I'm of a certain age.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to obligate myself to a bunch of meetings and conventions and all that stuff. I'm just going to take this summer and I'm just going to, anybody that asks me to go on a date, I'm going to go. And turns out Jay was the first person to ask me to go on a date that summer.
Really? What year was this?
18.
2018. Okay.
Yeah. He was the first person to ask me to go on a date that summer. And I was sitting at the place I stay at in the summer. I was just sitting on my computer. I was on a dating site. And I got a message from this guy who had one picture on his profile, which I've been leery of before, right?
Yeah.
Any of those kinds of things. I'm leery of a few things, and one of them is having one picture. He had one picture on his site, and he sent me a message, and his question was, what are you doing home? I mean, what are you doing online on the 4th of July? Because that's the day it was.
Right.
And so I hit him back and I was like, well, what are you doing at home on the 4th of July? I was
Oh,
like,
Lord.
in my mind, I was like, don't come for me. I don't even know
Right.
you. I was like, what are you doing home? And so, that kind of was the spark of our conversation. And it was really about 3 transmissions. Because I feel like by the 3rd transmission, he asked me, he was living out in a not rural, but a very suburban neighborhood. And he said he had just moved here recently from the East Coast, relatively recently. And his question to me was, where's all the Black people?
Okay.
And I told him, they're not out where you live in. And I said, me and some friends are going to Nate Jackson's comedy club or comedy show the next day, because the next day was my birthday. I was like, and we're all Black. So if you want to come to a comedy show, you can meet us there. And to my surprise, he did exactly that. He drove all the way out from Woodinville to Tacoma and met me and my friends at this comedy show. And at this comedy show, he came in late. And because he came in late, he wasn't able to do any of the normal date things, like, buy my food or buy my drink or whatever. And so when he came in, the comedian asked, did he buy my drink? And he said no, because he was late. And so then basically for the next 30 minutes, the comedian just roasted him.
Oh, no.
And so that was our very first date. And I thought it was really cool that he could take a joke at his expense.
Yes.
And then the next day, Sandi, honestly, the next day he called me and said, okay, that was fun. Can I take you on a date myself for your birthday? And I said, sure. And then he took me on a date for the next 7 days straight.
Wow. 7 days straight?
7 days straight. He called me every single day, said, what are you doing tonight? It's still your birthday. And he took me, I want to say, I'm not going to remember everything. He took me to a movie, to an improv show, to a walk on Alki Beach, to out to dinner a couple times. And so that was a whole week. And and so that's how we met.
What was your first impression of him on the second date?
Ooh, on the second date. That's a great question. On the second date, I don't know if I had an impression, because remember, my thought was I was going to go on a date with everybody. That's
what the dating experts tell you to do, though. They tell you to just say yes.
So when I was in Portland, like literally a week before I had come back to Seattle, a friend of mine said, when you talk to guys on these dating sites, like, what's your method? I was like, well, I try to talk to them a long time just to make sure I like them. And, before I meet. And she was like, don't do that. She was like, meet them as soon as you can, because the longer you talk to them online or on text, the more you're kind of like creating an idea of them. And so then when you meet them, even if you don't like them, you like give it more time, because you've already created the character.
Oh,
And she was like, meet them as soon as possible,
right,
so that if you don't like them, you don't like them, and
right.
you can just check it off and move on. And
Ooh, see?
so when he asked about where's the black people at,
Mhm,
I think I had that in mind. Was like, you know what, if we're gonna meet, just come out tomorrow. And so by the time when we got to the second date, I
mhm,
still wasn't really thinking long. I wasn't thinking much bigger
mhm,
than that. My agenda that summer was just to go on all the dates.
mhm,
I thought he was nice. I thought he was kind. I thought he was easy.
mhm,
I thought he was really easy,
mhm,
like to hang around and be around and talk to. And I think it might have also been my state of mind.
mhm.
Um, because I kind of was at a place, I think, in my life where I was like, I'm not doing no more extra, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
unnecessaries or
Mhm,
whatever. So I think I was easier too.
mhm,
But he was polite, his
mhm,
manners, his manliness.
mhm,
Um, yeah, I just thought he was easy.
mhm. Did you have a checklist?
Not by the time he and I met. When I was younger, I had a checklist for sure.
Mhm,
But by the time he and I met, my checklist started with things like he needs to adore me,
mm,
and he needs to like my company.
right.
Like by the time we met, that's what my checklist had. And I don't mean that like any man will do. I
Mhm,
really meant like he has to just like me.
mhm,
You know,
mhm.
I'll check out his character, I'll check out
Right,
his virtue, I'll check out his bank account, I'll check
right,
out how he
right.
treats his kids. I'll
Mhm,
figure all that stuff out. But the starting point, the jump off, needs to be that he likes being around me.
mhm,
And I don't have to beg him to be around me. And I didn't have a dating life where I felt like I didn't know if men liked me or not.
mhm,
Um, but I also didn't have an assurance. Like
mhm,
I just
mhm,
want at that point in my life, I was like, I just want an assurance
mhm.
that I'm not sort of having to vie for your attention. But like
Right,
when you want to be around me, not because I asked you, but because you want to be around me.
right, right.
Because I liked my life at that point. I was like, other than being single, I actually like my life.
Mhm.
And
How
so
important was that part? How important was it that you liked your own life, enjoyed your own company, and were just fine
yeah,
being a single
it's up
woman?
here. It's up
Yeah,
here. It's
yeah.
up here. Like for real, for real. I think the
Mhm,
best thing I did for myself and for me and Jay's relationship
mhm,
was I did not need Jay.
mhm,
And he and I have talked about this, and I don't
mhm.
mean this in the negative. I didn't need a
Right, I know
man type
exactly what
of
you
way.
mean. Mhm,
I didn't mean it that way. I did not need him, and
mhm,
so I wanted him,
mhm,
and and he wanted me.
mhm,
But I didn't need his money. His I didn't need his validation
mhm,
necessarily.
mhm.
Um, but I like being around him,
Yeah.
and my life was secure. My life was secure enough for me,
Mhm,
and so I didn't have anything to gain by dating or being with somebody.
mhm,
And what I had to lose was too important to lose it. Right,
mhm.
the piece of my life I had,
Right.
the stability of my life that I had, the
Mhm,
purposefulness of my life I had. That was too important to me
mhm,
to waste it and to throw it away.
mhm.
But I also didn't need anybody to make me whole at that point.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Oh my
And
God, I can't even.
my hope and prayer for women especially, but men
Yes,
too, my hope
yes.
and prayer for women is that you get there. And
Mhm,
um, yeah, and you'll know when you get there. You'll get
mhm,
there. Like I definitely wanted to be in a relationship,
mhm,
but not at the expense of all the things about myself and my life that I enjoyed.
mhm. Yeah. That
Mm.
part to me is I can't even say how important it is to have established yourself in your
Yeah.
own life with your own friends and your own hobbies, your own likes, your own dislikes. You have set the standard in your life. You know
Mhm.
what your breakers are. You know what's going to light you up on the inside. You know what that is
Yep.
before you jump out there. And we can't always get there before we jump out there. Sometimes we jump out there and we don't have no clue. Other
Yeah.
times, we got to go through some things before we get to the point where we have all this mature woman stuff. But I just
Yeah.
think it's really important that you have created a life that you are not trying to run away from.
Yeah, that's such a good way to. That is such a good way to say it. I do think so often. It's not that I'm gonna just talk about us girls for
Mhm,
now. Um, it's not that you actually want to be in a relationship. It's more so you just don't want to be alone. And that's not a good reason.
Right.
That's just not a good reason. And we've all been there, but it's just not a good reason. Like what you are going into needs to feel like something that calls you, not something that hides you,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. I
And
agree.
that was important for me.
I agree 100%.
Yeah.
So, how many dates did you have before you started to feel like I think I can trust him to be vulnerable?
Um so okay. I'm not sure how real this show gets, but I'm gonna give it to you. I'm gonna be
Okay.
real.
Okay.
So I said the sanitized version when I said I was just gonna go on dates with people. At the point that I met Jay, I had lived what most would call a holy life,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
The virtue, all that.
Mhm. Right.
And so when I said I was gonna date people, I was like, what happens, happens. I'm
Mhm.
over, I'm over it. I was like, I've given enough time to holiness. That's really
Yeah.
where my mindset was.
Yeah.
And so by the time I went on 8 dates with Jay, because remember they were like in a row,
Mhm. Mhm.
went for a walk on the water on the beach, the local little beach.
Mhm.
And he asked me a question, like a vulnerable question.
Right.
And I was like, this is a problem because um, I kind of had given myself permission to just whatever it this summer.
Mhm.
But I had not factored in that I would actually like the person, that
Mhm.
I would actually like want the person to
Mhm.
like stick around.
Right.
And so I was like, it is really crazy to me that God is intervening here because I really wouldn't want to mess up with you and then you not come back around. I'll be really sad now
Mhm. Mhm.
if we do something physical
Right.
and then this don't work out. I had already kind of prepped myself
Mhm.
um, uh, to misbehave,
Mhm.
with niggas. Basically, I'd already been like, I don't care, I
Tell
don't care.
it, Michelle.
I talked to my best friend and I was like, listen, I'm of a certain place in life, and
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure my ticket to heaven is stamped, so I'm good.
Mhm.
But I'm just really sick of this kind of whatever.
Yeah.
Um, but what I had not calculated was, what if I actually really like the person and I
Mhm.
don't want to screw that up.
Mhm.
And so not only was Jay the first date I went on that summer, he was the only date I went on. Uh,
Mhm.
and so probably about the eighth, ninth date, when he asked me that question, I
Mhm.
had to really think, wow, how do I want this to go?
Mhm.
So we started being pretty vulnerable. But let me just say this: Jay came in vulnerable. Like Jay came
Mhm.
in
Mhm.
um, owning, where he was in his own life,
Mhm.
some of his upbringing and his background and stuff. He came in sort of ready.
Mhm.
Um, and so I was the latecomer to the vulnerability party.
Mhm. So do you feel like he felt like he was tired of just the dumb stuff too?
I think so.
Yeah.
I definitely know that. I definitely know. Like when we met on the dating site, he
Mhm.
said that he was just looking for conversational, like, connection, because
Mhm.
he was a dad. He was working a lot, and he just really wanted like somebody to sort of hang out with and talk to,
Mhm.
um, because he just felt like he wasn't really in a space to like be in a full on committed relationship.
Mhm.
So I feel like he was already sort of making peace with the place that he was in his life.
Mhm.
So yeah, I just think we both came with like nothing to hide, nothing to lose.
Mhm. Right.
Yeah.
So when did you know or when did you start to feel like you wanted to go to the next step, which was exclusivity? And did he bring it up first or did you bring it up? Or did it come up to like you both brought it up?
So the last night of the show that I
Mhm.
that I co-produced, um, we did. I did the curtain call, and then
Mhm.
he and I went to dinner. And after that dinner, I was already packed to go back to Portland. So after dinner, I got in my car and drove back to Portland, and I just assumed that was the end of it. I was like, great summer. I went on 1-2-month date with this great guy, and great summer.
And you would have been okay with that.
I just kind of made my peace with it. I just kind of assumed that the distance would talk him out of whatever it took. And I didn't know how committed I was to sort of keep. I had done long distance relationships before, and I think maybe I just was like, I'm not initiating that. Even if it's a short distance, I'm not initiating it.
Right.
And so I got in my car and I drove back to Portland, and then I want to say 2 days later, he called. We kept talking, but 2 days later he called and said, like, what's the halfway point between Seattle and Portland? We said Centralia. So we met for dinner in Centralia. And while we were out at dinner, he said, I'll come to Portland as often as you want me to.
Right.
He said, it's nothing. If you want me to come, I'll come. And that's when I started thinking, oh, okay, let's talk. That's really where it kind of sunk in that, again, that I was not having to wonder about his want for me in his space. And that, that was kind of where where it really locked in for me. Yeah.
So you become exclusive. You're dating each other only, but long distance. And Jay's been married before. He has 2 sons from his previous marriage. When did that conversation come into play?
I mean, I knew that he had been married and had sons from day one. So that was always in play. It didn't. So let me just. He said this publicly. So, after that dinner date in Centralia, Jay drove to Portland every weekend for a year.
Every weekend.
Every
for
weekend.
a year.
For a year. And if the only reason he didn't drive to Portland was if I was in Seattle, if I had to come to Seattle for something. And so, yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. I think his previous marriage came into play, not for a while, honestly. It didn't have space in our relationship for a long time. His sons did. Like, I didn't meet the boys for a long time. Or a good enough, a good amount of time. But they were clearly present in his schedule, in his life, in all of his things. But his previous marriage didn't really come into bear for a long time.
Right.
Got real serious. Yeah.
Okay.
So, I think I met his ex-wife at a soccer game when we went to a soccer game for the boys. I think that's when I met her.
Okay. And what was that interaction like?
It was not great.
Oh no.
It was not great. Nothing bad happened.
Right.
But I saw her, and just being myself, I just walked up to her and I was like, "Hey, beautiful." And that really was the sentiment of my heart. She is this tall, dark skin, wonderful hair, beautiful skin, beautiful face woman. And I just walked up to her and I was like, "Hey, beautiful." And so, we did a friendly hug.
Right.
But then Jay told me later she didn't like that. So I was like, "Oh, I don't."
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it wasn't warm and fuzzy, but it was friendly. Yeah.
Okay.
But we're cool now. Like, we're cool. We don't hang out or anything like that. But she's come to support stuff that I do. I clearly am supporting her boys. Yeah. So we're cool now. And Jay really has a close relationship with his in-laws. And I think that is super important to protect. for him and for the boys. And
Mhm.
so yeah, we're good now. I got the boys, or I met the boys when they were older teens.
Mhm.
And so I wish I had met them when they were younger, so that I had a little bit more time in those formative
Mhm.
spaces.
Mhm.
But they're just both great men, great young men.
Yeah.
And Jay and his ex-wife did a great job.
Yeah. So, how important was it that you could really see in a tangible way, a real way, that Jay was a great father? How important was that?
Very, very. One of the guys that I got on a date with before Jay had a lot of kids,
Mhm.
and he lived in Seattle. And I did not mind that he had a lot of kids. You know, that everybody's story is different, everybody's journey is different. So again, my only concern was, what does your life take from my life?
Mhm.
Not, I'm not gonna judge what your life was, but what does it take, or what does it lend to me? And
Mhm.
so I was okay with the fact that he had a lot of kids, but I could not get over that he had left his kids, in another state. And
Mm.
I say left.
Mhm.
I'm not. I don't mean that in a judgmental way. I'm just saying that's
Mhm.
how it read to me.
Mhm.
And he was a good guy, a nice person, treated me well, financially secure and all that.
Mhm.
But as a woman whose dad was not in her life,
Mhm. Okay.
I just could not get over
Mhm.
the conscious choice not to be in the same space as your kids.
Yeah.
And and because that was such a huge part of Jay's identity,
Mhm.
um, I just took a whole lot of value. I added a whole lot of value to it. So when he said, he couldn't come hang out with me, or he couldn't do something with me because he
Mhm.
had to be at the boys' game, or because he had to go to the school, or because he had to whatever with the boys, I didn't argue. I didn't question it. I wasn't jealous. I loved it. And so
Mhm.
it mattered a lot, you
Mhm.
know. I know people say, look at how a man treats his mom. And I understand why people say that. But
Mhm.
for me, I really think, look at how a man treats his kids.
Mhm. Yeah.
And
It matters.
it matters. Yeah,
Yeah.
that mattered to me. And
Yeah.
everybody's story is different. I know men who had to move for different reasons and all of that.
Mhm.
And I understand people have their different journeys. I just found lots of honor and attractiveness in Jay's position to be a great father.
So talk to me about the proposal. When did that come in? How long had you waited?
A year later, at the
Mhm.
same theater show that I came to town for,
Mhm.
uh, Jay came to all the shows,
Mhm.
um, and all that, and I didn't know anything. I did not know anything. At the end of the last show, I think, oh no, the end of the second to the last show, uh,
Mhm.
we go out to the lobby and we're just thanking everybody for coming to the show.
Mhm.
And little by little, I noticed like just this conclave of people sort of circling around me.
Right.
And they were like all people I knew. Like everywhere I looked, there were just people that were not just that I knew, but that were friends of mine. And I
Right.
was like, wow, look at all my friends at the same show. Um,
You didn't have any clue
no,
what was about to happen.
no. You know what? It started, other people, definitely the cast, the tech crew knew, the team of the show
Mhm.
knew,
Mhm.
because when I went to the makeup woman, the Naja, I
Mhm.
went to her and I was like, "Hey, can you fix my hair?" I'm just thinking about people being
Mhm.
around. I said, "Hey,
Right.
can you fix my hair?" And she's
Mhm.
like, "Oh, absolutely." And she's like, "Do you want me to do your makeup too?" And I was like, No, I'm good." She's like, "Well, no, go ahead and sit down. Let me do your makeup." And like she like gave me a whole face, and I was like, "Why is she giving me a whole face? She got a whole cast of kids to do." And now I figured out in retrospect that she knew what was happening.
Right.
So everybody was trying to make sure I was in the right place at the right time,
Mhm.
getting to the right thing. And so, but no, I didn't have any. And here's the thing that was even crazier. His sister, Jay's sister, came to town to see
Mhm.
the show.
Mm.
Jay's brother came to town to see the show. Never occurred to me.
Ugh.
Never occurred to me. Never occurred to me. I thought he was, real talk, Sandy.
Mhm.
I thought he was just really that proud of me. I just thought he was really proud of my work,
Mhm.
and that he wanted his sister and brother to see it. That, that's truthfully what I thought.
Oh,
Was like,
Lord, Michelle.
that's really what I thought. I promise you, that's what I thought.
You know what? But
So,
I have to say this. I think it says a lot about who you are as a person for your friends to try to help your man set up your proposal. He's got his family flying in for this. Your friends are in cahoots with him to
yeah,
make this happen for you. That says a lot about who you are.
yeah. Oh, thank you.
It does.
It means a lot to me that my friends um, watched him. Like the
Mhm.
whole time we were dating, I could tell that they were watching him.
Oh,
And
yeah.
more importantly, they were watching me.
Yeah.
Um, because then particularly the friends that I have in Stillwater, and some other folks, Sam and Elias and other
Mhm.
people who are my great friends, Lena.
Mhm.
Um, that not only were they watching him, but they were watching my response to him. And
Mhm.
I think the response that they saw from me told them to lean in his direction.
Mhm.
And so yeah, by the time he did the proposal, they were all on board.
Wow.
Yeah.
So he got on one knee.
He did.
He did.
He
He
did.
presented the ring.
He did. I
And
um
what were you thinking as he presented that ring to you?
so let me tell you again, this happened for us later in life, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
You think as a independent, self-made, self-supporting, strong Black woman,
Mhm.
you think this moment won't matter
Yeah.
if and when it happens.
Mhm.
You have sort of you've either written it off, and when I say you, I'm talking about me because I know
Mhm.
everybody's different, but you either have written off that it's going to happen, or you really truly believe that if it happens, it's not going to be that big a deal.
Mhm.
And when it happened, it's just really unbelievable.
Mhm.
It's just really unbelievable. All the imaginations you've ever had about
Mhm.
the moment, they come rushing back,
Wow.
right? All the movies you've seen and all the stories you read and all the songs you ever heard and cried to, it all just comes rushing back, and you can't believe, especially in front of people, that
Mhm.
someone would say, that this gesture is nothing. Like this gesture is the least that I can do,
Yeah.
to tell you how much I want to be connected to you. And
Mhm.
so
Wow.
there's a video online that when it happens, I just throw my head back because I'm just really like, you just don't believe it. You just don't believe it. But
Wow.
it was beautiful. I'm sure I smiled for days. I'm
Yeah.
sure.
I know you did.
I'm sure I
I
did.
know you did.
Yeah.
And the wedding that came after that was a whole production.
Yeah.
I was so upset that I could not attend, but I got to see it.
You
And
seem to it.
oh my gosh, I can tell that you are a theater girl because you and Jay put that wedding together so beautifully, and everything that led up to the wedding.
Thank you.
You just really let us all in
Thank
on
you.
everything, and it was absolutely beautiful.
Can I tell you what was important to me
Mhm.
was, so I don't want to say this in a short way. So I have a wonderful community of friends.
Mhm.
I come from a great family, a family of love and not high on trauma or dysfunction, but I come from a great family.
Mhm.
But by the time Jay and I met, my mother had passed, my dad had passed,
Mhm.
my closest family had moved back to Mississippi, um, and so my friends in Seattle are really like family to me,
Mhm.
um, and so I know what it has been like for years, to be the single person,
Mhm.
at the Thanksgiving dinner, right?
Yeah.
Or the single person who got to tag along, with the family to the zoo or whatever. I that was my life. That was sort of my experience, right? And so when we were thinking about our wedding and we were thinking about who could come or who we wanted to come,
Mhm.
I wanted anybody that wanted to come. I wanted them to come. I really was like, if they love me, if they love you, then as far as I'm concerned, they can come.
Yeah.
And we're going to figure out how to throw a party that's on a budget, but literally anybody can come. Like, we didn't send out invitations.
Yeah, I remember that.
We kept saying to people, if you know us and if you want to come, come. And that's what we did. And we said, and we had people from Portland to Seattle to from everywhere. My family flew up from Mississippi. My uncle prayed during the wedding. His family came in. I mean, it was really just important to me that it reflects an open arms that I just felt like my friends, my family, my community had carried me for years. And I just felt like I wanted whoever wanted to be there, I wanted them there.
Are you glad you did it that way?
I'm so glad.
Yeah.
I'm so glad. When I look at the pictures, and I see, I'm trying to think, a woman named Breon Scott. She's from Seattle. She met some of my friends from Portland at my wedding. And they are like best friends to this day.
Wow. And they met at the wedding?
They met at my wedding.
Wow.
And I mean, they are like homies to this day. And I just think that is so incredible that they met at my wedding, because I just said anybody can come. Anybody should come. So yeah, I'm 100% glad I did it that way. I cannot imagine doing it any other way.
Do you think Jay's glad you did it that way too?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, without a doubt. I think we do wish that we had a East Coast version. We were thinking about how to do something back on the East Coast where he's from. But by the time we got back from our honeymoon, it was COVID and the world shut down.
Right.
So we literally got married on February 22nd, went on our honeymoon. And by the time we got back 4 days later, the world, people were being sent home from work.
Yeah. Well, we're going to let Jay answer that question himself, because he is. Yes, he is. All the way from the Mariners game. Hi, Jay.
Hey, how y'all doing? Can y'all hear me?
Yes, I hear you. Can you hear Michelle?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I can hear.
Good. Have you been watching?
Yeah. I didn't. I just got here. It's just a matter of figuring out how to park a motorcycle downtown. So I had to put it in the parking garage, because it's definitely a hot item. Somebody would definitely stop by and pick it up. Yeah.
And that's your new birthday gift, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
New birthday gift.
Mm-hmm.
I saw the video. I was very impressed, Michelle. You pulled that off. I loved it for you.
He deserves it. He deserves it. Jay just turned 50, and he is not big. He don't need a lot. He don't ask for a lot. Honestly, you ask him, he wants his wife and his sons to be happy. That's really what he wants. But I was like, we gotta do something. You a black man out here working and doing it right. We're not gonna let you go without. And so I knew that was something he would like. Even if he never asked for it, I wanted him to have it.
Well, speaking of your sons, I remember in the pre-interview when you talked about how your boys don't have any frame of reference of not having a father in their life, not being able to pick up the phone and call their dad, and for whatever reason he answers the phone, not feeling loved and seen and heard by their dad. They have no frame of reference whatsoever about that, living that kind of life. How important was it for you to, when you finally got to see Jay's relationship with his boys, when you saw how much they love him and respect him and honor him, what were the thoughts that you had about that?
Hello?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'll just answer really quick, babe. Mute your phone when you're not talking.
Got you.
So we became, a blended family real fast. And it was pretty I don't know the right word, I won't say uneventful, but measured. It was just really cautious. Like we were all like still getting to know each other and all that. And, but we hit a little time of turbulence at once. And I remember not really feeling like the youngest one cared too much about what I thought. Right. But there was this one day where I said, I don't think, I said that something that he did was not respectful of his dad. And when I tell you, honey, honey, that was the switch, because the notion that he would be seen as not loving or respecting his dad was so unheard of for him. And he was being a teenager. He was doing what teenagers do. But I had to call it out, call it what it was. But I think it was the first time that this idea that there might not be as much respect as there should be was ever said. And I've never seen him then or now have such a reaction to something before. And what I mean by that is I saw how important it is for him to respect his dad. Teenageness aside, I just really saw that. But again, I've said to Jay many times, your boys have no idea what it's like to not have a father. They have no idea what it's like to not be able to call their dad. Right. And that's a beautiful thing.
I agree. That is a beautiful thing. So what do you think the boys would say if they were here tonight? What would they say about who you are as their bonus mom, their dad's wife? What would they say?
I don't know. Jay might be able to answer that better. I will say the boys are two very different people. So I don't know. We're good, but I don't know what they would say. Jay is just, you see how he is? He just talks to everybody. He can talk to anybody. When I say Jay, this is what I mean. He'll just talk
Jay,
to Jay,
can you hear me, Jay?
Absolutely. I can hear you.
What would the boys say if they were here about their relationship with their bonus mom, Michelle? Uh-oh, you're muted.
Well, one, they would say they really don't like baseball, but I don't know. I really don't. I don't know. I mean, they lots of respect for Michelle, and they appreciate the fact that she does. She's exemplifying living out her dream. As at this stage of life, so they look and are inspired by that. And you're like, well, if Michelle can do it, I can do it. And I'm inspired too, by what she's doing. So it's like one of those things where, where they were as teenagers, maybe a little different. Maybe they didn't know how to express themselves, but now, I'm sure it's very different. Even though they're they're very busy lives, but I know that there's some inspiration.
Yeah. Well, Michelle, I have a surprise for you, because when we were in the pre-interview and we brought up the subject of the boys, your eyes instantly filled with tears. And so that's how I knew that these young men are very near and dear to your heart, and they mean a lot to you. And they couldn't be here tonight, but they each sent their own video. So they're going to message to you how they feel about you.
What?
And I want to thank your bae, Mr. J, and my insurance buddy, Elias, for helping me set this up, because I have been worrying their nerves for about a week now. Help me get this together. And the boys were so sweet and so kind. They sent their videos to me, and I'm going to share those with you right now, my dear man. Here we go.
I just wanted to say congratulations on everything, all the way from everything you've been doing in the community to the coffee shop, acts on stage. And me and my brother really appreciate you. You mean a lot to us. And just congrats, man. Live it up.
And that's Victor. He's the baby boy, right? Yeah. And we have a message from Joseph too. Let me pull this up.
Michelle, I don't know when or how they're going to show you this video, but they just asked for, I guess, some words from the heart. And I guess I'll share like a little story. It's like not a little story because it happens quite often, but every time somebody asks me where I'm from, which is Delaware, but you know, partially Seattle now too. One of the first things I mention is that my parents own a coffee shop. My stepmom and my dad own a coffee shop. My stepmom runs a theater company for Black and brown youth that like to do things I'm passionate about in the arts, and how that's such a point of pride for myself. That's something that when I can work it into a conversation, I do, because I'm proud to be a part of a family that, you know, has like the mural that is Seattle. Like that's a handprint on that mural. That's a big piece of it, to me at least, in my opinion. And so I'm proud to have been able to get to know you over the years. It's been more than a couple of years now. But seeing the impact that your work has done, and what it has had, and how that influences, in a way, work that I want to do. I know you and my dad are very into community work, as my mom, and so that's something that growing up for myself, like I didn't really see the future, how I wanted to work or what I wanted to do, and then just seeing it done in real practice, seeing it done in real time, people that, you know, like you and my dad, really you, that live by this value of, no, I want to give back to my community. I want to help my community. I want to give opportunities that I wish I had had or that had, and still want to give to other people. And so for me, just seeing that in real life, in real time, made me realize, you know, this is something that I want to do. I had a course, this is a small anecdote. I had a class that I wanted to switch into, and I was praying, and the professor emailed me, he said no. And so I woke up at 8 a.m. and went to his office before that class, and I begged him. Well, he was like, well, where do you see yourself 5 years from now? Because it's a class on climate change. And I said, well, I see myself doing work that's going to impact the community that I'm from. And community is what I mean, like generally, like, but I want to do community work that's educating kids around, you know, climate change and ecology and just the little things that surround us in the natural world. And part of that reason is because that is the type of work that my family does. That is the type of work you do, that my dad does, that my mom does. And so, yeah, just, I guess, like I said before, I'm proud to be a part of a family that is a legacy that we're going to have, and excited for the future too.
I want to say
Wow.
congratulations on everything, all the way from everything
Wow,
you're doing in the community.
wow.
Oh man.
I had to do it. I tricked you. I know.
Oh my
I
God.
had to, because I could feel your heart when you talked about your boys. And I know they're grown men, but they older than me. So we're going to call them the boys.
Yeah.
Y'all don't come for me unless I stand for you. But I just want to say to them, and I said this too, I asked Jay to relay this message, that I really appreciate them taking the time to do that, because they both had games. And then earlier today, they had to stop what they were doing to make those videos. And so I really appreciate them doing that for you.
Okay. Can I give you a little story here?
Yes.
Okay, I'm blown away.
Mhm.
Two things. I think one of the reasons I get so choked up when we talk about the boys is because, like I told you, one of the reasons why I wanted everybody to come to our wedding is because I don't often feel a part of a nuclear tribe.
Mhm.
And so having space in the boy's life and being a Raymond, like being a part of the Raymond tribe, means a lot to me, but it also is important to me to not feel like they feel forced, right? And so so as important as being a part of their tribe is to me, I know that we have to take our time, and we're taking our time to develop that. The other part of the story, though, is Jay and I were out last night, and I looked over at his phone, and I saw a message on his cell phone, and I looked at his phone, and it was an interesting sentence between him and Victor that I had like never really seen before about feelings or whatever. I said, what are y'all talking about?
Mhm.
And he grabbed his phone and put it away. And Jay has never done that. He
Yeah.
has never been a hide your phone man. He has never been a you can't see or you can't have access.
Mhm.
And he knows this to be true for a good few minutes and or more. I was feeling some kind of way that he would not show me what was on the phone. So, babe, I'm sorry. I was really like, what is it I can't see?
You need to mind your business sometime. I can never surprise her because you don't mind her business.
Well, let me tell you what Jay said to me when he texted me earlier today after he sent the videos. And then, Jay, I want to ask you how you felt about and what you thought about the videos that the boys did for Michelle. But I just thanked him for helping me put this together. And Jay said, that's what us Raymonds do for each other, even when we are on our grind. So it's a Raymond. This Raymond love is powerful, honey. And that's how we were able to put this together. I started out worrying Elias's nerves. And then he was the go-between between me and Jay. And then finally Elias wanted out of the group chat. So he gave Jay my number. He's like, just talk to Jay. So we finally got it all together. But Jay, what do you feel when you hear those messages from the boys?
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. I think that they're kind of in all of Michelle in terms of who she is and what she's accomplished. Even before what they've seen now, musically, the many lives she's affected, especially when we're in public. People see her, know her.
Yeah.
So I just think that they're just trying to make sure that they, hold the line, or maintain the standard that's that goes even further. Only one of them is, well, I can't say one is musically inclined. The other expresses himself in sports. The other one plays sports too, but he sings and dances and plays music. That's, you can tell the difference. The one that's short.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I saw that immediately.
Yeah. And the other ones, they're both giants though, 6'8" and 6'5".
Wow.
Yeah. So, but overall, they, when you ask them to do something, they'll do it in their own special way. And they didn't have a problem at all. They didn't know what it was. I just said, hey, just Michelle's been, going to be on a thing tonight, a show tonight, and just say something about Michelle that comes to heart. And that was just it. I had to give them no cues. I just left it at that. Almost got spoiled last night, but it is what it is, But yeah, I'm not surprised at all. This is how she affects the lives has affected the lives of so many other people before, our time, and she continues to do that to these guys.
Right.
So
well,
they're used to seeing her being successful. None of us are used to her seeing her fail.
Right.
So it's like, my God, like, can you mess up something? Something. Jeez. Well, guess what? Oh, great. Here we go. What? I'm used to greatness.
Yeah.
So, and I tell this all the time. I was like, yeah, I would love to be surprised and great, but that's just been the norm. And I guess that's cool, but it's always been that way. And lucky me.
That's right. Lucky you. You want to say anything to your babe before you go back to the game?
Or go to the game,
Go to the game.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm in here.
Uh-oh.
I think that's it.
Did we lose him?
I think so.
I think so. All right. That's okay. All right. Well, we
man.
are almost an hour in. We have not talked about acts on stage. We have not talked about the scene in South Park. We crying. I'm glad I didn't wear no lashes tonight.
Oh man. Man, you know, I tell you what though, if people want to find out about Acts on Stage, go to actsonstage.com.
Yes.
You want to find out about the scene, come down to the scene in South Park, get some coffee, get something to eat, come feel the vibe. But it is rare. Like, I don't post my private life online. For one, because I know now that my private life is not just mine. And I want to be sensitive to that. But thank you for giving us space, you know, just to share a little bit about not just our life as a family, but my journey going from singleness into a family. So thank you for letting me share that.
You're welcome. I think that you have been a voice for women's empowerment. I don't know if you meant to do that or if you know you've done that, but you have. And I remember watching the little videos you used to make about your dating life. And I remember those videos.
Yeah.
I do. And I would watch them because I was married at the time, but I'm single now too. And so I just remember you were just being brutally honest about what it was like to be out there on the dating scene.
Yeah.
And just running into a little bit of everything that was just like, ugh.
You know, recently, a friend of mine, Jeff, he has this kind of pod. Now, he doesn't have a podcast, but he has sort of this conversation starter on his profiles, and he put up this thing about, you know, if a woman wants a man to take care of her, you know, and pay all her bills and blah 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 blah. You know, and he listed out how much taking care of you costs, and then he said, so I'm gonna ask this age-old question. You know, what in exchange for being taken care of, what do you bring to the table? And I left a comment. I don't usually jump into those conversations anymore, but I left a comment that said, it don't matter what I bring to the table. Either he got it like that or he don't. Either he wants to be with me or he don't. Either he wants to do it or he don't. But this notion that women have constantly sort of got to qualify and quantify their value and their worth, particularly to men. No, to answer your question, I did not mean to become a voice of that. But I spent a lot of years under the oppression and under the burden of some of those thoughts and some of those ideologies and some of those ways of thinking that women have to sort of earn the right to be esteemed. And I just call foul. So no, I didn't mean to, but it's important to me to speak out about it now. Because, you know, I've been to a lot of churches, and I know we're at time, but I've been to a lot of churches and I've been to a lot of conventions and I've been in a lot of rooms, you know, with power players where I have seen and I have learned that women do not have to, or that women are subjected to pressure on a whole nother level. And it is so normal in our society that a lot of us in our younger stages, we don't even know what just got said. And so here I am at 50-ish, 50 plus. And I just feel like, you know what, let me decode what just got said. So I don't want you to have to wait till you get older for you to hear what was said. And you live your life under some darkness that you don't deserve. And so, no, I didn't mean to become that. But I'll do it though. I just think it's important.
Well, will you come back? Okay. When you come back, we're going to talk. It's going to be all acts on stage, scene in South Park. I want to talk about how both of these amazing projects were conceived. I know you said in the pre-interview that just before you and Jay left to go on your honeymoon, you were awarded a $1 million grant to start acts on stage. I want to hear about that.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that story. Literally, we got married on a Saturday or Friday or Saturday, I don't remember. But I know on Tuesday, before we got married, I got a call that I had pitched an idea called Acts on Stage, a theater that had ministry and activism at its heart. And that we were awarded $1 million to start that vision.
Mm.
And a lot of people don't know that story, and I would love to tell it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I want you to tell it because there's a lot of things that happen to lead up to you being awarded that grant. And before you even thought about applying for the grant, you pushed back on even thinking that you could have something like that. And I want to talk about that. I want to talk about that too.
Okay.
So we're going to bring you back.
Okay.
So we can talk about what you're doing in the city, giving back to the city, like Joseph said, giving back to the community where you live, not going off somewhere else and doing for another community. So that's what we're going to talk about when we bring you back. And we're going to do that at the beginning of the year, probably right before your 5th anniversary.
Sounds good. Sounds
We'll do it
good.
that way.
All right.
Well, thank you so much for being here tonight. This has been just an incredible conversation. I really appreciate you. I know you're busy. It took us a long time to get you booked, but I'm so glad we finally did because it was worth it. Yes, it was worth it. And thank you, Jay. I know you can hear me. Thank you. And thank you, Elias.
Thank y'all so much. This was fun. This was great.
Yes. Elias is such a trooper. He helped me out.
That's my brother. I love him.
Yes.
I love him. Wouldn't trade him.
Well, you have a wonderful evening, and I'll see you at the top of 2025, my dear. I'm gonna see you before then because I'm coming to the scene in South Park.
All right. Thank you.
Save me some coffee.
Okay.
All right. Take care. Right. All right, y'all. That is our show for tonight. You know what? I'm okay with us not being able to get to all of the projects Michelle has going on right now. She just is doing a little bit of everything, and she does it well. She balances her life and her work really well. And we're going to talk about that too when we bring her back. But I'm glad that we had a chance to just sit down and really talk about who she is as a person, and you know, the influence that her parents had on her life. We just touched on that a little bit. And we'll talk about that more when we bring her back. But I'm just thankful that she was able to come on the show. She was super busy this Sunday, but she was gracious enough to clear her schedule tonight. She's supposed to be at the Mariners game, but she said, nope, I'm going to Girl Talk After Dark. So I appreciate her for that. And I appreciate all of you for watching tonight. Thank you so much. I will see you again next month. As most of you probably know, October is Clergy Appreciation Month. And my very own clergy, my pastor, Pastor Mark Miller, and his lovely wife, Lady Vanessa Miller, are coming on Girl Talk Sunday, which is Girl Talk After Dark's big sister. And they're going to be on with me, and we're going to be talking about church life and how it's been. You know, it's been 25 years since he became the pastor of the Maranatha Family Worship Center. And we want to talk about how it started and how it's going and what he foresees in the future for our church. So join me next month for Girl Talk Sunday, Clergy Appreciation Month. I'll be back. Can't wait to see you. I love y'all. Thank you. Good night and God bless.